Hey guys, it's TF Note. Welcome back to the channel. Today for Anime Week Day 3, I'm going to be taking a look at the Good Smile Company Figma Max Factory Promare Galo Thymos. This is figure number 499 in the line, almost at 500, which is actually pretty impressive. And for some of you who aren't familiar with this property, this is an original anime movie from Studio Trigger. It's kind of hard to explain. It's mostly like alien fire and like the firefighting team that's tasked with taking them out. It's kind of dumb. It's definitely like style over substance with this movie, but I thought the style of this movie is so good it makes up for a bit of a lack of substance. Shout out to my good friend Eileen, who took me to see the re-release, I think at the end of 2019, which was one of the most fun experiences I've had in an anime movie, watching that. And shortly after, actually it took a while to get these made, but Good Smile announced some products that they were making, including this Figma right here. This particular one is probably one of the most overpriced I have seen ever. Like, this is like $150 on domestic websites. You can't really get it on the international websites anymore, and even then it was still kind of expensive there without the tax and shipping. It was pretty expensive for like $120, I think, almost around there, on Good Smile's website when it was available. So yeah, very, very expensive. It does come with some big pieces, but I still don't think it was worth all that. I got it pretty lucky on sale for like a little bit over $100. That was not including the shipping at Big Bad Toy Store. It's back to $150 there, which is a really hard pill to swallow. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, as you're looking at the packaging here of these different shots, I just don't think it's worth that much, to be quite honest. Now, what I will say is that the actual figure itself is very nice looking, and we'll take a look at it in a second. The packaging is also very beautiful. I'm really digging the coloring here. This is one of my more favorite looking action figure boxes I've ever owned. I'm not even kidding. The bright pink going to a bit of a gradient of bright yellow with some white in there too. Throughout the box, you got to see the Promare logo as well, and just shots of the figure. I've been taking images and showing you some close-ups of different sides of the box just because this is such a big box. I can't do a proper 360 on it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the figure in a 360 view. So again, this is a very good looking figure, and it looks like it came right out of the movie. I have one major problem with this figure that I think, some people may not think it's major, but with what's happening lately with this line, with my experience, I do think it's major, and it's something to talk about. We will get there in a second. Let's talk about the accessories, then we'll take a closer look at the figure. Before I start this section, I forgot to mention that he does come with two bases. Usually this figure comes with one. You'll see why this figure comes with two. Now, this instruction booklet is quite useful in showing you all the different accessories and how all of the different pieces are supposed to be used, so that way you can accomplish certain posing. Mainly because the biggest part of this entire package, which I think is why the price was so jacked up, is the Matoi Tech piece. It is an extremely beautiful piece here. It looks like it came right out of the movie. It is very cool looking. All that paint that you see on there is super crisp. Usually that's how it is. Even though the paint's kind of delicate on Good Smile figures, it's very good looking. I do have a bit of a splotch on like kind of like the visor almost piece. It has a little bit of a streak of light going on there on the front, but you know, you look towards the front, all these details are really clean, especially that Prometheus fire department logo. Excuse me. The teal that's on the visor piece is really clean. The grays, the different whites, and the red going on there. If you saw earlier, the 3 was really nicely printed as well. And then I don't exactly know what these are supposed to be called, these like ribbon type pieces, so I do apologize. But the back ones, you just got to see what they look like on the front. The back ones here were separate from the rest of the packaging, and then you just port them in there because they probably had some really hard times packaging this thing all together. The ones in the front are going to be stuck in there, just a heads up. So we also have this base piece, as you see there. It's a much more extended piece. You will plug it into this when it's time to do it in the staff mode. You know, there's a particular accessory, and this is what it looks like at the bottom of the Matoi Tech piece. When you insert one of the staffs at the bottom, it does have a port there in the bottom. It's a very, very snug fit, so try your best not to break anything off inside of there, unfortunately. But it's going to take some time and posing for me to do this properly with Galo. You won't really see it in this review because Galo is breaking apart on me, unfortunately, and we'll get to that in a second. But The idea is that this whole thing will be able to be like held in the air with Galo holding it. So you could pose him holding this whole thing without you know, just having to freehand it on the figure. It's very top heavy. The figure will drop it without this stand accessory. So it is cool that they thought ahead, even though it is a little convoluted how they did this whole thing. I still think it all looks very, very cool. Just be careful with those ribbon pieces. They'll be very delicate. We also have a staff right here, trying to focus up for you guys. This staff piece is rather nice. So towards the bottom here, this hook piece is out with that red with the white and orange going on there too. This is a separate piece right there. Nothing else moves on this, just to let you know, but the white is very nice. This long black line sculpted in there too. It's actually painted in there, and then the bottom here a little bit gray. We have this version here where it's more like a blaster type piece. You see on the bottom there where he would be shooting out there, and that is very cool. That's where the trigger would be, but everything else about this is very similar to the previous one you just saw, and then this also hinges back and forth. We also have the freeze pistol, which is very nicely painted. I think it's a couple parts is a tiny bit sloppy, like that light blue right there. This whole thing is a very nice dark blue paint as well, mostly throughout. And then the light blue, of course, you can see where that is. And a little bit of white. That's where the muzzle would be. They did get that blue line in there very clean too, so I dig that. Let's move on to the head system. As you see here, it is, you know, that's the head it comes packaged with. And the hair pops in and out like that. So it's a little, I had to pop this off the body because it's going to be a nightmare. Popping on one of the faces with that groove right there, and then reinserting this very large hair piece like so, with all that waviness going towards the right. You have to push it all the way in before even popping it in, and even then these are kind of hard to pop in. They're very snug, but that's what that more left looking action face looks like. And on the body, or on the head I should say, it's looking again to the left. You have a little bit of like pinkish in the pupils there, but all that paint in the eyes with the printing on there and the eyebrows is really clean. All of these faces do have this like pink highlight right there, as if it's some type of stylized shadow. I do wish it was more of a skin tone, but I understand that's how it's supposed to look basically in the movie. The detailing of the teeth and the mouth there, all that is very clean. The ears are nicely done. So, and then this is very, even though you can see that break in the sculpt there, all this is very, you know, consistent when it comes to that dark blue with his hair. And then this is what the angrier mug looks like, and that is also some really nice face printing going on there. Very nice paint going on in the mouth as well. Moving on to the crossed arms accessory with really nice paint and detailing. It does come apart right here, so that way it's easier for you to insert this whole piece, and then these ports right here prevent the holes from shrinking. The paint and detailing on the actual gloves too, and then this white piece on the arm. Just give you a look at that. Sculpting on there, all of that is very cool in the gloves. Has some good sculpting on that. Last but not least, we have all the different hands. They're mostly molded like this. They do look like, you know, very large glove hands, which are nice, and they're all in this one type of very, very dark blue, almost black. We have the flat hands here. We do have the gun holding hands. So this actually, you only get one right here. I believe this is actually for the gun, and this is for the staff here. So they are a bit of a mix up here, but this more curled in one, that is for holding the gun. This is for holding the staff when it's blaster time. Some of these do look rather similar. So this is for cupping underneath the hand for when it's doing the, you know, pistol pose. A flat hand for stylized posing right there. That's just one left flat hand. We also have these closed grip hands where the thumbs are closed off there. As you can see, a little bit of creasing on the thumbs there for gloves. Last but not least, these are a little bit more open grips, I think, for, I guess it would be for the staff. But, I mean, these are also kind of for the staff. I can't exactly remember, but these don't, I'm not entirely sure. Again, small grips going on here. The instructions will tell you what's going on. Maybe I should have checked before. But the problem is, if he is going to be holding any staff pieces, like this is really small. If he's going to be holding anything, this white paint is so delicate that it's going to mark on the blue in here. So I don't really see myself really holding this, even though he comes with all this really nice stuff. So that's just a little bit of a drawback. with the nice paint is that it's really delicate. It's just going to ruin things. But we do get a lot of accessories with this figure. So we will be testing my luck with how much I can keep this figure together. We'll talk about why in a second. But I want to talk about this head sculpt. This is a really nice head. The base head or face that it comes with, really nice printing on there. Again, we have that little bit of that pink highlight there, but it's fine. If I really want to, I will figure out the skin tone, the exact skin tone, just paint over it one day. Even though I don't know how to paint. On the base head, this hairpiece is a little bit too easy to pop off. On the other faces, it's a little too snug. So keep that in mind. There's the line sculpted where that like greenish yellow meets the blue. So that paint is really clean. The blue is very striking. They pretty much captured how the hair is supposed to look with all the spikes and drifting over on the right very well. And then they have the darker blue for this faded part of his hair, you know, looking good. Then we get down to the torso. You know, we have a pretty large neck here, which I think is accurate. The skin tone is pretty consistent throughout the whole figure, and it's all, again, I can feel the paint. It is a little delicate. This time, sometimes, you know, the paint on these figures that will already have like smudges just because like coming from the factory someone will smudge it. That's how delicate this paint will be. But so far I don't have a problem with that. A little bit of skin tone going onto the black here, that's a little unfortunate. You have the hole in the back here, and you're going to need that with this figure. I'll show you why. The white part of his arm, this arm cover, is really nicely done. And you know, the black straps right here, this is actually like sculpted, so it's not just painted on here. Then you get to the arm with the gloves on there, looking really good. I might need to turn the brightness down a little bit so you can see that. It's like this type of like faded yellow right there on the glove looks really good. And I don't know if you guys saw earlier, but in the image I forgot to talk about it. You know, it comes with a Figma bag and the wrist peg. It comes with a skin tone wrist peg, but this is a much thicker blue wrist peg. So this is very interesting to see that it didn't come with a wrist peg that is like standard. But this one here, very large. I haven't had a problem with having to rotate it. I don't think it's going to snap anytime soon. So I'm pretty glad about that. These are really nice. These fists also, you can see just how that looks. Now looking at the right arm again, very similar. It's just we have the exposed arm right there. And the wrinkles on the gloves are nice too. So do you think I'm holding this figure up right now? Absolutely not. First of all, you can see how toned the stomach is there, and the detailing on there is very nice. Why does it look like there's a bit of a gap right there? Why? Where's the? Here it is. That's, you know, watch this, guys. So, just with the tiniest bit of a shake. Actually, it's not doing it right now, but yeah. So, this torso, the ball peg, and this is just loose. It's just really, really loose. I don't understand how they can get away with that, basically. And this figure, I don't know how old it is, but if it was shipped like this, and I know I've had it for a couple months. I can find my Instagram stories. The day I got this and like played with it, I took an Instagram story video of it. This is way too loose. It's been loose since the day I opened it. And then there's no like secure like click when you plug it in. It just was loose. So many of these Figmas lately, either something wrong with the paint on mine, or like the arms are floppy on Inosuke's. You know, they're not that bad here. Other parts of the figures, they're just loose. There's just all kinds of quality problems going on with Good Smile. And yes, this is a little bit older, but like with recent experiencing, you know, with this stuff, almost every Figma I'm getting has some kind of problem where I just can't enjoy the figure. And it really sucks to go in this mini rant and say that, because I think that this company is amazing. They've been making great anime figures for years, but I just feel like they've fallen off, not only on like character choices lately, but like quality-wise too. Like, look at that. I barely shook it, and it's falling over. And then eventually, I'm trying to shove this in as much as possible. Eventually, again, the paint will be so delicate, you can't really see it right now, but there is a little bit of black, just ever so slightly here. Something will scuff his skin tone. and whatever black or red is here will get on here. It's real. I just can't. It drives me insane. I know it. I'm gonna move on. Just know I'm not happy with, even though I paid less, I'm not happy with this $150 action figure, barely movable. I know I can fix it. I shouldn't have to. Now this stuff, we'll talk about articulation a little bit. This is a little loose up here, but that is not nearly as bad as this. Taking this off, let's decompress a little. The pockets are really nice, I will say. The yellow on the black, it doesn't look like there's any splotching, so that's good. Little back buckle piece is nice. The buckle on the front is really cool. This is all a soft plastic piece here. You can pop these hips out at some point, and you can pop this off if you need to. I think I need these like nail polish or something to like make this a little bit stiffer, and then it should eventually work. I can see though, and I don't mess with this figure that often, there's a little bit of whiting in the plastic here. That means at some point it's gonna break a little easier than it should, so that drives me insane. I'm gonna keep moving on. Now, the bagginess of this character's pants is accurate. It does hinder articulation, and it does make him a little bow-legged. The 3 on there is actually nicely sculpted and painted on there too, with that yellowish type of paint. And then everything going around here is pretty nice. The red, the joints are a little ugly because they can really only get away with a single joint. And then the ankle pops off easily too. Like what the this is insane. Like I'm not doing any of this stuff that easily. Like I'm using as little force as possible to do any of this. I really don't want to dog on this figure, man. This is a really nice looking figure, but this stuff is just a pain in the ass to do. They do have some like tears almost kind of that are detailed in there, looking pretty cool. Okay, moving on. I'll just give you a quick look at all that. These do pop out, but the ankles and the shoes, the boots, they do look really good. It's black. It's just like slight undertone of blue in some of the stuff, but this is mostly a black, paint going on in here. That shiny joint is a little distracting, but it's not too bad. And then that lighter yellow, like it's throughout the figure. There's actual treading sculpted on the bottom of the feet too. Like I said, guys, I don't have anything against how this figure looks, because Good Smile, they still have some of the best sculptors in the anime figure market. Like the sculptors did their job here. It's Max Factory and Good Smile that didn't do their job with the overall quality. So popping off the head real quick, just to show you what this peg looks like. Some of you are very familiar. They angled it with this ball joint in there, and then this peg sticking down, so that way I can try to fit it back in, but I'm having trouble doing it, and some of this is delicate to where I really don't want to mess anything up. You also get additional articulation in the torso, at the neck area. This face will pop off a bit, but it can look all the way down, but the up is not. It could be better. And then you get side to side. This hairpiece is way too loose, swiveling. I might need some hot glue for some stuff, maybe even some super glue for some things. Super glue is a last resort. Can shift up or down a little bit because the ball joint here. The good thing is that these joints can be easily removed in case you need to replace joints, and they do sell replacement joints, which is nice. Going in and out and all that, so you can see a little bit of that motion going on there. Upper arm swivel, and then you actually do get a little bit of a swivel here. This single joint at the elbow can move a little over 90. A little, I can't tell what else their swiveling is. I thought the gloves have swiveling, but they don't. It's fine. Standard wrist articulation for imports, as you see there. Now this ball joint at the waist up there, that's the kind of range of motion, even though there's gappage, all that range of motion you can get. And there's a hinge in there too, which is pretty good. Now when you have this on here in the ball joint, ideally it's supposed to like go all this forward and back, all this different range of motion here, but it's really giving me trouble, guys. Seriously. You can actually swivel a little bit in here, but remember there are some of that whiting of the plastic is going to make me worry. But you can make the actual T-joint in there swivel a bit. The stomach might not actually get in the way too much, but the split, because of the baggy legs and how thick these thighs are, they kind of split, I guess. But there's some paint rub issues that may happen here. There's also a separate waist or thigh swivel, but it's really tight and it really doesn't want to move actually. Legs can't really go forward that much, and the back is a little better, I guess. Single joint knee, not even 90. I mean, to keep the bagginess, sure. It does have a type of ball joint going up in here and swiveling there and side to side, down, up, and then an ankle rocker going in there. So, I mean, it does have pretty good articulation, just the legs are really hindered. I can't show you the proper articulation because he just keeps falling apart. Measuring out the figure, if you're looking at either the top of the actual head or the very top spike of the hair, you're looking at around either 16 to 18 centimeters on this figure. You're going to put this at around like 6¼ to almost 7 inches tall. He is a pretty tall Figma. They're usually like 5 inches, so yeah, very tall. I have some examples of what I think are the best of the Figma line, left and right. Maybe saying his name wrong. Kukulane from Fate, as well as Medusa that I reviewed last year over on the far right. One of my favorite figures of all time, Makuma Kancho from Kill la Kill. And even though I did this comparison already in a review, I brought Buzzmod Kamiya back out since they're both basically the same character. As you can see, this is a pretty tall Figma, even within the line of the Figmas. Overall, I should be way happier with this figure than I actually am. But in some ways, it definitely is still a really great figure. I think that the sculptor who worked on this, I forget the name of them, but they did a really fantastic job making this as screen accurate as possible. It looks like it came right out of the movie. That paintwork on this figure, the proportions, and the overall sculpting is very, very good. I also can say the same thing if I could speak about the accessories too. They are also very screen accurate. This figure comes with pretty much everything you need for this character, besides maybe, I don't know, like a t-shirt in some scenes. But also, you know, the Matoi Tech is a very standout piece. I can see why it is a little bit more of an expensive figure. Even though it is a little convoluted to put on the staff and pose it with the staff, it is still really cool. And the articulation we do have here is pretty nice, hindered in some areas, mostly in the legs because of how baggy they are, but the fact that this figure struggles even in neutral standing up straight poses because of just how bad the waist is on my particular figure, I really can't dig it that much, unfortunately. I know it doesn't seem like that big of a complaint. I can fix it on my own. I really shouldn't have to. This is extremely expensive, and I just don't think the quality is up to par with what Good Smile should have. Like the figures I showed in the size comparison have way better quality control than this figure here that's a little bit newer. So I'm just a little disappointed. It's still pretty nice. It was technically an exclusive for some retailers, which is why it's kind of expensive, I guess, because of the size of the box too. I will leave links where you can try to get it. I really only recommend it if you are a hardcore fan of Promare. Otherwise, it's a skip, to be honest. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below what you think about the figure, what you think about the review. Leave a like, share amongst your friends, and I'll see you guys later.